I've been seeing this set everywhere, especially on TikTok, so I drafted it up so I could make it myself. You can grab the pattern from my site and you can sew along with me. First thing you'll do is cut out all of your pieces, and once they're all cut out, you'll have a front and a back piece and a neckband and 2 armbands, and you'll also have 2 shorts pieces, a gusset piece, and a waistband. When you're cutting, make sure that you cut around the notches in the pattern. Those will help you line up things better when we're doing construction. For this tutorial, I'm using fabric that you can definitely tell the difference between the right side and the wrong side. But since the top is kind of flowy and kind of blows around, I would choose a fabric that kind of looks the same from front to back. Okay, the first thing we need to do is create memory creases. So fold the sides of your front and back pieces towards the wrong side of the fabric 1/2 inch and press, and you'll create a crease. And then fold it over 1/2 inch again and press it, and then that'll give you 2 creases. It should now look something like this. Don't forget you're doing that to both the front and the back piece. I should have mentioned this while we were cutting, but there's a little mark you have to add to the front and back pieces at the side, and I just do that by clipping into the fabric just a little. Okay, next is the shoulder seams. So you'll take the front and back pieces and place them so the right sides of the fabric are facing each other, and you're going to line up the shoulder edges and then sew those. I'm using a serger, but you can definitely use a sewing machine for this too. The next step is adding the armbands. I always fold them wrong sides together and along the long edge there, and then I press it and then run a basting stitch along it just to hold it together while I'm sewing, but if you don't want to do that, you don't have to. So you're going to open up the front and back pieces and lay it right side up, and then you're going to line up the raw edges of the armband along the raw edges of the arm opening, and you're going to line up the ends first, and then the next notch will be at the notch along the arm opening, and then the middle notch will be at the seam at the shoulder, and then the next notch, and then the next end. And when you're sewing, you're going to pull the armband slightly, so you stretch it a little bit to make sure it's the same length as the arm opening. And when you're sewing, you can just trim those notches off as you go. Stretching the armband as you sew will just pull in the arm opening and get it a little tighter. The next step is to sew the little side seam. So again, you're going to place the front and back pieces right side together, and the armbands will be together as well. Put a pin in that mark on the side, and then you're going to use a 1-inch seam allowance and run it from the top of the armbands down to that mark. You'll definitely have to use a sewing machine for this step because you don't want the seam allowance trimmed off with a serger. Once that seam is sewn, you can hem the sides. So now you're just going to refold your memory creases all the way back up the shirt. You'll fold the armbands in with it too. And then you'll sew as close as you can to the inside fold. Anytime I hem or top stitch knit, I always like to steam it and press it just to get out any waviness that it may have put in there. Now it's time to hem the top. You're going to hem it the same way you did at the sides, except you're going to fold it over 1 inch, and then you're going to fold it over another inch, and then you're going to sew as close as you can to that top fold. And then I'll press that hem too, and this is what your top should look like at the corner. Finishing the top off with the neckband. Fold the neckband in half, right sides together, and then sew down that short edge. And then you're going to fold it so the wrong sides are together and you're matching up all the notches, making a skinny cuff. And now you're going to place that neckband along the neckline right sides together. Starting at the back notch on the shirt, you'll put the seam of the neckband, and then you'll work your way around matching up the next notch on the band with the shoulder seam. And then you'll match up the middle notch on the band with the front of the shirt, and then the last notch on the last seam. Same thing as the armband, you're going to stretch the neckband slightly as you sew it, and you're also going to trim off those little notches. And now that the neckband is on, you are done with the top. And now it's on to the shorts. It's a good idea to mark the backs of the shorts with some pins. The back edge of the shorts is at the top of that curve along the top of the shorts piece, and it also has the larger curve for the crotch as opposed to the front. First step is to sew the front and back seams. Place the 2 shorts pieces right sides together, and then you're going to sew from the top edge down to the crotch curves. Now you're going to find the center of the long edge of your gusset piece and place a pin there. You can just quickly fold it in half to find the center. Now you're going to align one edge of the gusset with the crotch curve on either the front or back and make sure that the pin is at the seam of the crotch. And then you're going to continue pinning the gusset along the curve of the crotch so that the ends match up and everything is still right sides together. You can stretch the gusset slightly to ease it in. Once it's pinned in place, you can sew along the crotch curve and then one side of the gusset is attached. Once one side is sewn, you're going to do the same thing on the other side with the other side of the gusset. So you're going to line up the pin on the seam of the crotch curve again, and then you're going to continue pinning along so that the ends meet up. This is what the crotch gusset will look like when it's sewn into place. Now you can hem the legs of the shorts the same way you did the side edges of the top. Fold the edge back 1/2 inch and then fold it back another 1/2 inch and then sew as close as you can to that top fold. Since the leg openings need to stretch when you're wearing it, you're definitely going to need to use a zigzag stitch. Zigzag stitches will allow the fabric to stretch when you're pulling on it. Straight stitches won't, and that'll break the seam. Now we just have to add the waistband the same way we did with the neckband on the top. Fold the waistband over and sew along the short edge, and then you're still going to create that cuff again, and you're going to match up all the notches in the seam. When you're attaching the waistband to the shorts, make sure that it's right sides together and you're starting with the seam of the waistband on the back seam where you marked it with pins. You're going to start there and then you're going to keep continuing to pin around, matching up the notches. And the middle notch on the waistband will match up with the front of the shorts. And then you just sew all the way around the waistband. If you made it to the end, this is what your set looks like. You can find the link to the written instructions and pattern pieces in the link in my bio. Thank you so much for watching this today. And if you'd like to see me do more of these, just let me know what you'd like to see in the comments.